Hi and welcome to Drumming Solo. In this episode, we're talking to KJ Sawka of Pendulum, who are playing down here in Torquay at the Electric Bay Festival. We talk all things drums, hybrid drums, as well as his career and life growing up. Please like, subscribe and follow us on the socials, and we'll see you next time on Drumming Solo. So KJ, can you talk us through this unbelievable kit and why you have the acoustic elements you do and obviously the electric elements and things like that?
Yeah, so this is the Roland VAD kit, the acoustic drum series. And this setup here, 2 floors, 2 racks, two snares, extra hi-hat, extra kick, extra hi-hat pedal. I used to have this as acoustic.
Yep.
And then once the VAD finally came out, then I just switched to all electric because my acoustic kit was triggered, and you were mostly hearing the triggered sound anyways.
Okay.
And especially like on the floor tom, the trigger just couldn't pick up any rolls or anything beyond. It would barely pick up 16th notes at the tempo that we do, which is like high 170, 174.
Yeah.
And so I switched to fully electronic. I still have the brass on top, and it's really nice especially for the boys, because they like just that rock sound, that kind of that metal, that hitting really hard.
Yeah.
And so that covers the energy. This is like the energy on top, and then get to utilize the kit for all the sounds of the songs.
So it's something that over the years has just progressed and evolved. Like you said, was it, you had some acoustic elements and then gradually, one by one, they disappeared. And obviously the technology has just moved on massively to the point where it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah, these are real drums, you know, with just the V head on them. And I've always played the rubber pad. I really like the way it feels.
Yeah.
As opposed to the mesh, and then I got to hit the rem a lot, so that's a lot harder on the wrist. This is a lot softer.
Yeah.
Feels good. So for hi-hats, a lot of people ask me, how come you don't just have all the mesh? And I'm like, because the rubber feels nice as far as riding, hi-hat and these feel nice and soft too.
Yeah.
And, so rubber is cymbals, and then mesh heads are drums.
Okay. Can we go through what cymbals we've got then? So we've got...
Yeah, this is the Vinyl Byzance China.
Yeah. This
is the Classics China.
Yeah.
These are 18-inch medium thin. It's funny because I before I joined Pendulum, I had like 14-inch thins, really thin cymbals that I would catch and stuff. And then so I popped 16-inch thins, broke them. 16-inch medium thin, broke it. Went up to 17-inch thin, broke it. 17-inch medium, broke it. Went up to 18 thin, broke it. And then finally 18-inch medium, don't break.
Okay.
Like every show, I just crack them.
So these both the same, yeah? That 18?
This is the Brilliant, and then this is the traditional Byzance. So they're just slightly different. This is the Byzance Duo Ride, or Dual Ride. Love this one. Got a nice bell, and then I can crash it too, and I can catch it. These are Byzance medium hi-hats. I play a lot here. I play open a lot.
I noticed you do a lot of open stuff.
Yeah, and then this is from a stack. This is the Johnny Rab stack that I just have one of them.
Yeah.
And then this a little 6-inch.
And it's just purely 2 overheads. And do they have a hi-hat mic?
2 hi-hat mics, 2 overheads.
Yeah.
And then kick, snare, toms, and hi-hats out of the modules.
Cool. So the modules, are they, everything goes into both, or is one a backup?
One's a backup.
One's a backup.
We had everything routed into both.
Yeah. And
it was just a spaghetti mess. And we're like, it's so rare that a module goes down. And if it does, we just unplug all the leads, plug them back in.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Cool. And stall-wise, a lot of people who use electric and in-ear monitor stuff have changed over to these like Porter and Davis things. Have you been tempted? Have you tried it, or are you just happy just using in-ears? And hearing the, have you got, do you have a wedge around you or anything, or is it just purely in ears?
No wedge.
No wedge.
The bass I just hear from out there, and I
Yeah.
just have my in-ears.
Yeah.
I've used the sub one time,
Yeah.
and it's cool, but it was just like an extra thing. We started condensing everything for flying,
Okay.
and that thing was quite heavy.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing of why I didn't use it, is because of flying. And now I'm just used to in-ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And everything is off basically, mostly just 2 trees, except for these little guys.
Yeah.
I've always been into creating these elaborate trees to hold a variety of things.
Yeah. No, it looks very compact and a lot of fun to play with as well.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's hi-hat sounds on the rims, there's toms, there's snares, kick drum sounds here, and hi-hat, cymbals and cowbells and percussion. And this one song, all the heads are djembes and bongos, or no, the rems are djembes and bongos.
Yeah.
And then there's regular toms sound, so I can do a big tom fill while keeping this percussion thing going all at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds...
Yeah, and that's something you can't do on acoustic.
No, too right. No, that's really cool.
Before, I had all kinds of percussion. I had a huge kit before, and it was just, maybe I'll go back to that.
Yeah.
I still play acoustic drums.
Yes.
Yeah, but just for Pendulum, we need that electronic sound.
Yeah, no. Cool. So KJ, what was your musical background? What was life growing up and music in your household like?
I was about 11 and I started playing drums. I bought a kit from my uncle who had a couple of kits in his closet.
What sort of kit was it? Was it a beaten up Frankenstein kit, or was it a proper decent?
It was a Frankenstein kit. It was like an old pearl kit.
Yeah.
Had this little pearl emblem attached to 2 little rusty nails inside the blue sparkle wrapped kit. And then there was a Formica wrapped, I think it was an old Ludwig, not sure, but he refinished it with like this thin Formica. And I remember the edge of it kind of peeling off. But yeah, my brother got a guitar and I was like, I want to play an instrument. And my parents were like, well, you beat the pots and pans when you were younger. I didn't really remember that. But once I got that drum set, boy, like that changed my life. Stopped watching cartoons and TV. Stopped baseball. I was really into baseball.
Okay.
And then I cut my hand really bad with a little X-Acto knife putting together model cars. And it's probably a good thing.
So did you then go down the lesson route, or was it all just self-taught? And
I got a couple key lessons from a guitar player, actually. And his dad was Howard Roberts, who started Musicians Institute in Hollywood.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so he was Jay Roberts, this amazing guitar player. He taught me metal, and I wasn't very good, so he would just play. He's like, I'm just going to play, and you tell me what you would like to learn. And so I would record him playing on these cassette tapes, and I'd just listen to it over and over and over again. And I finally started playing what he was playing. And then we just ended up just jamming for our lessons. So I got really good at improvising and kind of being in a band.
What sort of stuff were you listening to at this age? Was it
that
rock?
It was all rock. So it was Iron Maiden and Metallica. This Primus was big back then. Rush. And then I got into Nirvana, and the grunge thing changed everything.
So what was the first kit that you actually sort of saved up to buy? Your dream kit? Did you have like a summer job that you were like, I'm determined to buy this kit?
Yeah, I had a paper route and saved up all my paper route money for this kit that my uncle had. It was like $300. Took all summer to save up $300. And yeah, I had to kind of fiend for myself Parents never gave me any money for anything. They didn't have any money. So it was a big learning experience.
Yeah.
Saving up the money, getting the kit, practicing. I never forget calling the local drum shop saying, "How do I get it sponsored?" And the guy on the phone just like kind of chewed me out. He's like, "You just want free gear and all this stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, how do I get free gear?" And he's like, "You got to be like in the magazines and like in a big band." I'm like, "Okay, I'll try to do that."
So was that what sort of 14, 15-year-old KJ was like, right, I'm going to do that when I'm older, you know, not this, you know, going down different routes to here, there and everywhere. It was very much, I want to be a drummer. I want to do that for a career.
Yeah, it changed my life at the time. I mean, I was only, 11 growing up. And then right when I got that kit, I was like, I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I feel really fortunate because like so many people, still when they're in their 40s and 50s, still don't necessarily know what to do. And I just kind of had that figured out. I think most musicians feel the same way.
Yes.
Right when they get into music, like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do.
Cool. And then obviously you turned from rock to the sort of electronic drum and bass type vibe.
Yeah.
What age was that?
That was 18.
Yeah.
So, like raves and growing up listening to electronic music is pretty popular here, especially at that time, early 90s. But
was there a particular band or album artist that changed that for you?
Yeah, my friend's cousin came over from England here, and he had all these CDs of like LTJ Bookham and a bunch of other drum and bass, Goldie and stuff.
Yeah.
And I never heard any of that. And right when I heard like a really basic drum and bass beat, it just blew my freaking mind. I was like, what kind of beat is this? That's not the typical rock beat.
Yeah.
And I was about 18 years old, and that totally changed everything for me. I like stopped listening to all rock for at least a year. I'm like, no guitar.
Okay.
At all. It was like the first time I really heard a synthesizer sound.
Okay. So then you were still doing all of these electric sample beats, but on a regular kit?
Well, I was just doing rock and funk
Okay.
until I heard the drum and bass, and then I tried to emulate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about 18 years old, that was when I changed my kit. I had this really big kit set up, kind of like Neil Peart. I had these coffee cans for high toms. So coffee cans went into rototoms, then went into really big toms.
Yeah.
2 floor toms, 2 kicks. And then I stripped it all down. And then I was really into Carter Beauford as well. And I was like, what is he doing with his left hand? Why is his ride cymbal on?
Did you experiment with that?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, he's left-handed, but he's on a right-handed kit. I get it. So I set up, since I had the double bass kit, I set up 2 kits, just kick, snare, hat, right-handed and a left-handed.
Yeah.
I put some toms on the left-handed kit. And I was still playing right-handed. I started figuring out what Carter Beauford, what he was doing with his super syncopated fills. I was like, oh, he's playing a right-handed kit, leading with his left. I'm like, I see. Because I was getting those same type of sounds, leading with my right on a left-handed kit.
Okay. And then when did you start incorporating the electronic element? Was it literally, a multi-pad, or was it?
So I first got a keyboard and started producing sounds.
Yep.
And then I got the SPD 20, which is that old white and black pad from Roland.
Yes.
And I just played that thing, and then I got a little QY70, this little sequencer from Yamaha, and I had that plugged in, and I was triggering the sounds and stuff, but it was mostly my early days of experimenting with electronic music was trying to emulate the sounds on the acoustic kit. So I'd put t-shirt and tape in my wallet and all kinds of things to kind of mute the drums. And I started to get that, which was just a compressed, gated, chopped up sound. naturally, acoustically.
Yeah. Experimental with tuning as well on snare drums and kicks.
Yeah, I had a really high-pitched snare, then a really low-pitched snare. And I was like, oh my God, it sounds like that compressed snare drum. I didn't know what compression was or anything, gating or EQ or anything.
So is all of that self-taught? The whole production side of things?
Yeah, no one knew anything about that.
No.
At all. And when I'd play a show or play a party back then, everyone was like, are those real drums? Because the way they sounded.
Yes. So obviously much later on, you joined Pendulum. 2010, 2009.
At the end of 2009.
Yeah. How did that gig come around for you?
So I did a couple of YouTube videos in my basement, and one of them on this little radio station in Seattle. And it was right when YouTube kind of first started, like 2008.
Yeah.
And the video just blew up. This guy who put out my record, local record company, he's like, Kevin, your video is like going. There was some other word that he used for viral, because viral wasn't even a word back then.
Okay.
And he's like, it's blowing up. It's got like 10,000 views.
Yeah.
And then it hit 50,000, and then it had 100,000. And then I started getting calls from all over the world wanting to come have me play. And I was doing my KJ Sawka solo thing at that point for a while.
And that was like going to clubs and just doing literally solo drums essentially.
Yeah, a little mixer, laptop, kick snare hat, microphones, little mixer, and I just show up and self-contained one-man band. Yeah. That was the send-off for me. That was my big break, if you will.
Yeah.
The YouTube videos, and that's when Pendulum saw me.
Yeah.
And then they started studying me, and then they saw that I was on Ellen DeGeneres and Jimmy Kimmel and stuff with my good friend Blake, who got runner-up on American Idol.
Okay.
And they're like, okay, he plays drum and bass, and he also is used to being on TV, which can be really nerve-wracking and stuff, because they were just starting to hit it big and realizing that needed somebody who's professional and can deal with the pressure of being on stage and stuff, not just a drummer in his basement.
Yes.
And so they put all that together, and then we met, I think in 2008 or 9 at Ultra Music Festival. I was playing with this artist called BT. He's pretty legendary in the trance breakbeat scene. And then I'm like, oh man, Pendulum's here. I'm gonna go see if I can get backstage and talk to them. And I talked to them, and that was really the glue.
Yeah.
It was meeting them face to face, and they were like, whoa, KJ Sawka. And I'm like, you guys know me? They're like, yeah. Well, I mean, like Rob and I were already talking on MySpace.
MySpace, as a blast from the past.
Yeah, and I sent out, I went into a studio and recorded like these 5-minute segments of me just playing drum and bass, and I sent them to all these different producers, and including Tony Coleman from Hospital Records, London Electricity, and Rob. It was quite easy to link up with people, especially. It was just my resume. I would just send out a beat, and they were like, "This sounds incredible," and the door opened. Especially in drum and bass, because no other drummer was sending them anything remotely close to this.
Okay.
And a lot of the producers were like, I don't even know what to do with this. I like, it's not how I produce music.
No.
And so it was just like a little bit of back and forth with Rob and Gareth, trying to make some sort of tune. And then when I met them, I was just kind of surprised that they were surprised that I was there as well, and they were really excited to meet me, because they were like, how can we get KJ Sawka in the band? Okay. Which I didn't know.
And what was your first gig like with them? Was it a stadium or a festival somewhere, or was it?
It was a warm-up show. I want to say like Newcastle or something. And it was like maybe 3,000 or 4,000 people for a warm-up show.
Yeah.
Getting ready to do the UK stadium or arena tour in 2010. And that was big. I mean, I've played big festivals or big shows like that before.
Because you've then obviously done Glastonbury, Reading, Download this year, which looked immense.
Oh man, that was, apparently it was about 50,000 people.
Yeah.
That was one
I can
for the
imagine.
books. That was probably top 5.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
It looked such an amazing
Rock am Ring and Rock am Park, Glastonbury, Reading, and Download are probably
Is there a
the
particular
biggest.
gig that if you had to go back to it and do it again, that stands out in your mind?
All of those.
All of those, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially Glastonbury. That was so cool. Just being around such a diverse crowd and
It's a diverse festival, isn't it?
I like talked to Paul Simon. I was like, oh my God, Paul Simon.
Because you were on, was it after Paul Simon, but before Beyonce?
Yeah.
And then you've got this,
Yeah.
Pendulum in the middle. It's just like,
and people are going
only
crazy.
at Glastonbury would you get that sort of mix, I think, isn't it? With all these different festivals that you play, because obviously you can do the Download Festival, you can do dance tents, you can do, dance festivals like we've got here today. Do you have to tailor your set accordingly for the audience that's in front of you? Or is it all just, this is what we do, this is our set, you like it?
Yeah, that's the Pendulum way, is we just do our set and they either like it or they don't like it. But I mean, like at Download, we definitely went a little more metal. We have a few metal songs.
Yeah.
And then like if we play Glastonbury or something like this, we'll mix it up and play all of our biggest tunes, and we have a couple of house tunes and and some like slower tunes and things. We don't really go too slow.
No,
it's all fast. With my KJ Sawka sets though, I'll definitely change it up with the crowd that's in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll try out new material and things, and
cool.
Never forget this one time. I was doing my solo UK tour here, and I had this new song that was kind of slow, it was breakbeat. I'm like, hey, I got this new song I want to play. And it was like a really small club, only like 40 people dancing and stuff. And I just cleared the floor with this new song. I was like, okay, that probably not gonna...
Did you play it again?
No, I never played it again. Yeah. I wanted it to work because I thought it was a cool song, but no, never came out. Probably a good thing.
And what do you do away from drumming? Have you got anything that... I know you do your production side of things, and you've been doing your tutorial content as well. Does that take up most of your time away from the live playing and the recording?
Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of keep it like a 9 to 5 at home, or wake up in the studio or wake up, go to the studio, and put in a solid 6 or 8 hours every day, whether it be building my lesson company, twitching, live streaming, and emails with everybody, and I mentor a lot of people with the teaching, and then I produce tons too, and working on a KJ album right now.
Okay. When is that likely to be out?
I don't know. I haven't really set a date.
No.
I'm sending it out to my friends. That's what I do first. That's what we all kind of do, is we get our tunes to a point where we think they're potentially done, send them to a few colleagues and trusted people, hear what they say. Yeah. They probably hear things that we don't hear. And then once they're done, then we send them out to labels and stuff. Off to the races.
And then how do you relax? Is there anything you do that's completely non-music related?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. I find plenty of time for my wife and my dogs. We live in Las Vegas and the weather's always nice. We got palm trees at our house.
Down here. It's the same down here, mate.
Same, yeah. This is nice. I lived in Seattle for most of my life, and it was almost the same weather here as England. I hit a wall. I would melt every time I went out in the rain. I was like, oh man, I'm tired of this. So we moved to LA for about 5 years, and then we moved to Las Vegas.
What does the rest of the year bring for you? Obviously, you've got a few more live shows to do.
Yeah, we got a bunch more stuff in the works for Pendulum, and a bunch of solo KJ gigs in the US, and putting out my solo album, and putting out more Pendulum tunes.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks ever so much for your time, mate. Absolute pleasure.
Yes.
Cheers, buddy.
Yes.
Good.